If you're having issues where your dryer is too hot, it's a common complaint we see as service people. The complaint we get is the dryer's too hot. And in most cases, we never know for sure until we're talking to the customer, is the dryer itself that's too hot, or is it the clothes that are coming out that are too hot? So if you're experiencing that your dryer itself is too hot, there's a couple of things you should know. One, the manufacturer has no guidelines as to how hot these surfaces should be. There's nothing in place that says it has to be this temperature or lower or higher. The main thing you'll know as the owner and the user is how hot it's getting. If it's hotter than what it usually is, that's a sign that you need to look at some of the things that may be causing the problem. So if the dryer itself is getting too hot, one of the first things you want to check is your lint filter. Make sure it's clean. And if it's good and you think maybe the airflow isn't as good as it should be, then you're going to want to check your vent outside. Make sure that it's clear and that there's a good amount of air moving through. Because if the air can't get out, that heat is going to stay in there and it's going to start to warm up this cabinet. The other thing that can happen that'll warm up the cabinet is the drum itself has a seal on the back and then in the front. And if those seals are worn, you'll get hot air leaking out and it'll start to warm up this area as well. The other thing that can sometimes happen is your dryer has thermostats. And if those thermostats are starting to fail and get worn and not having the accuracy they used to, they'll start to raise the temperature. And you'll see that in the top of the cabinet being hotter than it should be. And we can test that as service people. We'll use different type of thermometers for checking the surface temperature. We can actually check the vent temperature of the air that's going through the machine. So we can help with that. But if you're finding that that top and the sides are getting too warm, then you're going to want to take a look at some of those components. Your drum seals or your drum felts, these are what go around your drum and keep the temperature inside. And as well, you've got some electric thermostats, and dryers have several. They have operating and they have safety ones. And as these start to wear and get old and tired, your temperature will start to change a little bit. So you may be dealing with a temperature problem as a result of a thermostat. So the other condition you'll experience if your clothes are too hot when they come out of the dryer. That's a fairly common. And if that's happening, then there may be an issue with the dryer's not going through its cool down cycle. And whether you have a mechanical timer like this one or an electronic control or keypad for pressing your cycles, they still need to go through a cool down period. So the last 5 minutes the dryer is running, it should be having no heat on whatsoever. That allows that air to move through and cool down your clothes. So if there's a problem with the timer where it's not actually turning off the heater or the electronic board isn't turning off the heater, that needs to be looked at. The other thing that can sometimes have that happen is, again, your venting's going to be a problem. If you're getting a restriction, you're going to wind up that 5 minutes, you're not bringing enough cold air in and moving that heat out fast enough so that your clothes are going to be really hot to touch. So if you're experiencing that, check your venting. If the venting looks okay, you may very well need to be looking at either replacing a thermostat or perhaps even the timer itself.